So why did the Romans kill 1/10 of their soldiers? If you're fighting a battle, the one thing that you want to control, essentially, you want to have good training, you want good soldiers who do their job well and so forth, but you want to remove cowardice. And the best way to remove cowardice is to have your soldiers sign a contract that if there is cowardice or a legion is seen to act in a cowardly fashion, or someone in a legion is seen to kill 1/10 of that legion at random. So the at random had the effect that every soldier kept one another accountable. Of course, soldiers, they act with honor, they fight alongside each other, they're protecting themselves by protecting the man next to them, but this was just one added incentive to remove cowardice. So this put the onus on the individual to not want to be responsible for 1/10 of his legion's death if they were to lose, or even win, I guess, and if they were to have acted with cowardice, or the individual was to run away or whatever, his legion would be punished at random by 10% being killed, by 10% being executed. Now this was a way to put men's back against the wall. You're not moving backward, you're not running away, there is only forward. It's removing the option to flee. And when men don't have an option, we typically rise to the occasion. Essentially, the Romans were putting their men's back against the wall, even though their backs may not have technically been against the wall, being that they were already a successful empire and so forth, and one lost battle wouldn't have been the end of the world. But by instituting this rule that they had of to decimate, modern English has bastardized what decimate means. Decimate is to kill 1/10. So Nassim Taleb actually talks about this in his book Anti-Fragile, which is a must-read along with Skin in the Game. And I'm going to go through the other ones, but that's what I have read so far. But he also writes about the story of Tariq, the Arab commander who crossed the Strait of Gibraltar in April 29, 711, from Morocco to Spain. So upon arriving, he burnt his army's ships, something that other commanders would then do decades, centuries later as well. So he said to his men, "Behind you is the sea, before you is the enemy. You are vastly outnumbered. All you have is sword and courage." So he actively, again, put his men's back against the wall. And there's nothing more powerful than having no option, having no way out, having no other recourse than to win, to succeed, to thrive. So the question is, how do we burn our ships? How do we remove all options, leaving only victory or death? Now, is that even possible while maintaining a relatively comfortable way of life? I don't know. I do know that comfortable or comfort is the enemy. Success is an enemy, yet it's also a goal. The Romans saw wealth in a negative light. No matter what you read about them in history books, about their opulence and all this, that was overblown. As with much of history, it was done for a reason, to portray glory, to portray excess, to portray success to the enemy or whatever. But they actually saw wealth as something that would soften a man. Wealthy men in their society had to fight the softening. Like if you look at Seneca, obviously he's a Stoic, but he would wear rags. He would travel under circumstances that he did not have to travel because he was a billionaire by those days' standards. But he would bring very minimal rations, and he would practice what it would be like if he had nothing, and that is, in a sense, toughening. Now for us, as far as a quality of life is concerned, and we might see the Romans as being, or the successful Romans, the wealthy Romans as having great lives, but our lives are far more controlled than theirs. Far more controlled than theirs. We are far softer than the Romans. We have central heating, we have everything we need at our fingertips, information within seconds. While there are thousands or hundreds or whatever of inspirational articles on how to burn your ships, that is, how to make success the only option, they don't give the extreme of actually burning your ships. They don't give an example of how to actually make it the only option, because to do so would be a pretty drastic thing. We don't have that thing to fall back on. We don't have death biting at our heels. We do, but we don't have it in the sense that we actually feel it. So we could start a business and remove all other sources of income and put all our eggs in one basket. It's still, death isn't the result. And deep down we know it. And we should also experience joy and laughter and happiness in our pursuit of greatness or success or wealth or meaning or purpose and all that stuff. That stuff's all good. We're in battle in one sense, and we're not in battle. So far as I can tell, it eventually comes down to personal respect, self-respect, a code of honor that you have within, that you are better even than you show yourself to be. That is, when no one's watching, when no one can tell you to do the work or to do this or to do that or to have discipline or to correct you when you're being lazy, you do it. That is essentially what it comes down to, because the option of death is not nipping at our heels. It's not a matter of burning ships, though where you can do it. Making it so there's only one option is a contract you make with yourself that you do what has to be done until it's complete. You don't waver, you don't quit or get sidetracked. You do it as best you can. To do this, we have to have some understandings about life, about time, about what's possible and what's valuable. You can say it over and over again, but we have to feel time's passage. We have to feel the clock ticking and realize that we're dying, that time is fleeting. With each second, we get closer to our end, and our end may even come tomorrow. We have to truly come to grips with time wasted and how incredibly important time is. Watching a show isn't necessarily wasted time, but it becomes wasted time if it's before the task's completed. This isn't just about work though. Work gives us a reason for being here and it's very important. It's about being our best physically, relationally, spiritually, mentally, and so on. To put forth a man who is a degraded version of your potential is a tragedy. It really is. To give but a fraction of yourself because you made an incorrect decision, because you chose TV instead of going for a run, because you chose video games instead of doing the work. When you do that over and over again in your life, that creates what has to be seen as a tragedy. In that light, to whine, complain, think destructive thoughts, focus on destructive perspectives, lament negatively over past mistakes, dream incessantly about a future you're not willing to work to create, these are also tragedies. Like, we will fail and fall, but to not get up, to not continue to improve, to change, to grow and evolve, learn and aim high is not just sad. It's more than a tragedy, a travesty. It's something that cannot be confined to words. It's more than a waste, a dismissal of the incredible gift that is life. Yet it's what many of us do every single day. Spend a moment in your day thinking about death, thinking about the frailty of life, and not just your life, but those around you. Think about time well spent, time wasted, time used, and time burned. When you get off track, get back on track. Be a man who does what he sets out to do, always. Now this comes down to accountability, and there is only one person you can be accountable to, and that's yourself, because not everyone's going to be watching all the time. You have to have a code of honor with yourself. A covenant with yourself, your maker. Of course, you add in your family, your brothers, the ones you're in battle with, and so forth. You're fighting for these people. You're fighting for their honor. You're fighting to give them a better life. But this code of honor, it has to be with you and you alone, because it's you and you alone that knows whether you're doing the best you can do or whether you're just giving it minimal effort. Whether you're going all in and burning your ships, making success the only option, or whether you're keeping one foot out of the door, ready to escape, ready to quit, ready to find an excuse to make things easier, to take time off, and whatever. When these articles and when all these people talk about burning their ships, it's nice to think about, but we do not have death as the thing that's nipping at our heels. There isn't something that dramatic that is going to stay with us day in and day out. We are also not going to fully understand that we're going to die someday very soon, that those around us are going to die someday very soon. We're not going to feel the urgency from that because we have it so easy and we don't see death as frequently around us. We can have an idea of it and we can have urgency because of it, but there needs to be more. There needs to be a covenant with yourself that you're not going to be a waste here on this planet. And that comes down to doing what you set out to do and being honest with yourself. So if you look at truth, what's truth? Is truth who you've been thus far? Is truth your history? Is truth the mistakes you've made? Or is truth your potential? I think truth is the potential. I think truth is this idea of a life that can be lived, that is laid out before we get here, taking into account our skills, our whatever, where we're born, all this different stuff, taking that into account. And it's something that no man pretty much has ever reached, save for maybe one. That is truth. Potential is truth. Not our history, not who we've failed to be, not what we failed to done, but potential is truth. So if you live up to your truth, if you live a true life, you are going to not do the things you're not supposed to do, and you're going to do the things that you're supposed to do. Of course, it's not a straight line. You think you're supposed to do this, then you find out you're not supposed to do that, and you course correct. Okay, then you're supposed to do this, and you find out, okay, I should have done it a little differently, so you do that. But those little adjustments over time, that focus, that work, that making success the only options covenant with yourself, that leads to a good life. And if you look at why the Romans killed 10% of their soldiers, or why Tarek burned his ships, it's because there really is no option. To flee, to be a coward, it's to live life without honor, it's to ruin the lives of those around you, it's to waste such an incredible gift that is life, that there really is no other option. Burning the ships, it's a metaphor that what is in front of you, what you're chasing, pursuing, who you're becoming, that's the only option. There isn't a net you can fall back into. There isn't mediocrity that you can find safety in.